أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين خاتم النبيين أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الذي أذهب الله عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي يفوض أمري إلى الله بصير بالعباد سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته and welcome to another session into Ayatul Kursi, the verse of the throne. I want to begin today's session, inshallah, with a hadith from Tafsir Mizan by Allama Hussain Tabatabai. And he talks about a hadith in the tafsir of this verse, where he says that it is narrated from As-Suduq, Sheikh As-Suduq probably, has narrated from Imam Ali alayhi salam through Asbagh ibn Nubata. And it is said that it is the only tradition narrated from Ahlul Bayt which says that there are angels who bear the chair. But other traditions mention such bearers only for the throne. And it is in conformity with the Book of Allah, as he says, those who bear the throne and those around it celebrate the praise of their Lord. And above them, 8 shall bear on the throne on that day the throne of your Lord. These are verses of the Quran, 40, Surah number 40, ayah number 7, and Surah number 69, ayah number 17. It may be said that the chair is somewhat joined with the throne, as a manifest side of a thing is joined with its hidden side. And in this way, the bearers of one may be called the bearers of the other. What we're trying to see here is that the word chair and the word throne are either the same or not. That is what the hadith is discussing. And Allama Tabatabai is sharing this idea that perhaps the throne and the chair are two sides of the same reality. And one may be the manifest and the other may be the hidden. So we're seeing that the verse in the Quran which is saying that there will be 8 bearers of the throne may mean the same thing, that there are 8 bearers, as in angels or those that are holding up the throne. And so it may be that the chair or the throne are both the same things, a hidden and a manifest reality of the same thing. And this is what they're trying to discuss, that there will be these angels who hold up the throne of God or the chair of God, and there may be 2 realities to that. Now, Ibn Arabi has talked a lot about the throne and the arsh, and these are very deep realities, and it is not easy for me. I'm a very amateur student to decipher these things, and I've been studying it with teachers for a very long time. But the idea over here was to connect the fact that the heart, which we are saying is the reality, is the reality which is in a way manifest and in a way hidden to us right now in this existence, in this experience that we're having on earth. And what I mean by that is that while there is a heart, which is a pumping heart, which is pumping the blood in our body, and it is physically visible and working in our bodies, which is the manifest side of the heart, there is the hidden side of the heart also, which is doing a lot more than just pumping blood to the body. So now I'm going to read some from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book Becoming Supernatural. He has a chapter called Heart Intelligence. I'm going to read a little bit from it because he's talking about the heart. And he talks about this idea of how we lost touch with the important aspects or the realities of the heart. He says here that since our human existence first began, etching its histories upon cave walls and stone tablets like a thread through the needle of time, the heart has appeared as a symbol to represent health, wisdom, intuition, guidance, and higher intelligence. The ancient Egyptians, who referred to the heart as Ib, IEB, believed the heart rather than the brain was the center of life and the source of human wisdom. The Mesopotamians and the Greeks both thought of the heart as the center of the soul. The Greeks, however, considered it an important source of heat within the body, while the Mesopotamians believed it was a fragment from the sun's heat. They even performed human sacrifices whereby they extracted a still beating human heart to offer to the sun god. The Romans understood this heart to be the body, but to be body's most life-giving vital organ. In the 17th century, during the early years of scientific revolution, French philosopher René Descartes argued that mind and body were two radically distinct substances. Through this mechanistic view of the universe, people began to view the heart as an extraordinary machine. The mechanism of the heart as a physical pump began to overshadow its nature as humanity's connection to an innate intelligence. So he's explaining how a certain philosophy that took over our thoughts changed the way we perceive the importance of the heart, this important faculty within us, which was supposed to be given that importance for intuition and guidance and so much more. It just became a machine that was very beautiful machine that was just pumping blood in the body. And we're seeing now that the physical and the inner functionalities of the heart are being bifurcated. They're being separated from each other, and there's a separation coming in here around the 17th century. Through scientific inquiry, the heart slowly ceased to be recognized as our connection to feelings, emotions, and our higher selves. It has only been through the new science of the last few decades that we began to again reconcile and understand and recognize the true significance of the heart, both as a source that generates electromagnetic fields and as our connection to the unified field. So now, because of the advent of quantum physics, we are again going back into a very different kind of study in physics, right? And that's where we connect the unified field and which is apparently the divine field of infinite possibilities, etc. And we're coming back to this unification. We're coming back to this unity even within the scientific sphere through the help of quantum physics. Now, he says a few things, and then he says that we know that the heart, beyond its obvious role in sustaining life, is not simply a muscular pump that moves blood throughout our body, but an organ capable of influencing feelings and emotions. The heart is a sensory organ that guides our decision making ability as well as our understanding of ourselves and our place in the world. It's a symbol that transcends time, place, and culture. Now, we do talk about a lot of the concepts of knowing ourselves, helping us to know our God, right? And we know that mystics will say that the heart is that faculty that gives you the vision of divine intuition. And so he continues to say that almost everyone recognizes that the elevated feelings of the heart connect us to the consciousness of love, compassion, gratitude, joy, unity, acceptance, and selflessness. These are feelings that fill us up and make us feel whole and connected rather than the feelings of stress that divide communities and drain us of vital energy. So we're seeing that there's a very intricate connection between the physical heart and the heart that is responsible for the emotions and feelings of joy and compassion, selflessness, and unity. Stress is one of the main contributing factors to heart disease, and it's reaching the level of an epidemic in our communities now. We can, in fact, regulate our internal states, he says, independent of the conditions in our external environment. Now, this is where I want to bring our discussion on the heart, that the life that a seeker is seeking, the life that a person who's on the path to the divine is seeking, is this vertical connection, is a connection to the divine which goes vertically. It is not horizontal, it's a vertical connection. What I mean by that is that a seeker of God is somebody who wants to disconnect all of its leakages of energy to the world and completely concentrate their energies and connections to this higher reality, to this divine power, where this connection empowers us and gives us the ability to enter a completely different realm of reality. And what that means is that again and again, as I will tell you when I will read, because I have two, three books that I was referring to for this discussion, is that when the connection to God is something that becomes a priority through different mediums of the heart, which I will talk about in a bit, is that we start to disconnect from the physical drains that drain us. You know, the physical aspects of society that take away from us the concentration, they distract us. Assalamu alaikum, Naseem auntie. Nice to see you. Um, Continuing, he says over here that we can, in fact, regulate the internal states. Now, while the physical heart is pumping blood on its own as an independent phenomena, and the work is being done for us, um, and we can feel a sense of helpless lack of contribution or participation in what the heart is doing. The other aspect of the heart can in fact be interfered with our free will, with our control and power. And what is that? He's saying that um, just like developing any skill, voluntarily creating heart coherence requires knowledge, application, and practice. So what is it that we can do to start to have control over this faculty instead of it being an independent faculty working on its own? He's saying that like any other skill, we can take that power into our hands through knowledge, application, and practice. And he's talking about how the Heart Math Institute has been working since 1991 and has researched on all of these aspects of the heart and creating the connection between hearts and minds, and to deepen the connection of our hearts with that of others. Now, this foundation is built on the belief that in order to create a new future, a person needs to bring together a clear intention, which he calls a coherent brain, and an elevated emotion, which is a coherent heart. So Dr. Joe Dispenza talks a lot about healing, right? He talks about how we can heal our bodies and we can heal our lives and we can live to our fullest potential by creating our own future, by becoming the co-creators in our own life and participating in the process of life, and not saying that I am at the mercy of my circumstances, that I am powerless in front of what has been decreed for me. And this is an intricate discussion between free will and predestination and free will. But let's just stick to where I need to go right now, and perhaps if anybody has any questions, they can ask later. Is that in order to create your future, in order to be the co-creators of your life, and in order to take things in your own hands, there are two things that you need to have some control over, some maneuverability over, and that is a coherent brain, which is having a clear intention and combining it with an elevated emotion. We had discussed last time that the heart, when it gives us these signs through emotions and feelings, which can be used to ask the bigger questions in our life, and then we can enter into a state of what we want to do with ourselves and changing ourselves towards the life we want to create. um so now he's saying that we can change our biological energy. And when we change our energy, we change our lives. It's the union of these two elements that produces measurable effects on matter, moving our biology away from living in the familiar past to living in the new future. So what Dr. Joe Dispenza usually says is that, through our mental and concentrated attention, through meditation, through visualization, through changing our emotions, we can enter a different state of life. For example, we can choose to live in a state of gratitude or ingratitude. That is a choice we make from within. Now, the choice of finding something good to be grateful for is an example of choosing to decide my own perception of a reality. For example, somebody gets hurt. Now, when they get hurt, they can either choose to say, "Oh my God, my life is horrible, I got hurt," or they can say, "Oh, thank God, I didn't get hurt worse than this. It could have been worse than this. And great, I'm hurt, but it's fine. It could have been worse." These are two different ways of perceiving the same outer reality because you have consciously decided something to do from within. And this is what Joe Dispenza is saying, that you have the power to not be dictated by your outer circumstances. You have the power to say, "I'm not going to be uh, in my mind. I will not be that which is what I'm experiencing in my bodily realm, in my physical realm. I will decide on a conscious decision of what I want to experience life to be." And that is why we start to experience how there's a zahir and there's a batin. There's an external and there's an internal reality that we are experiencing. And in order for us to change our lives, all we need to do is enter into a conscious living, a conscious life, a life which is not where I'm a victim of my circumstances, but instead I am the one who is deciding how I want to take my life forward through moment to moment. And um, uh, Dr. Joe Dispenza continues to say that when you maintain and sustain elevated emotional states independent of the conditions of your external environment, you can gain access to the kind of high level institution that fosters a better understanding of yourself. So, you see, it's so interesting how we keep stumbling on this idea that if we start working on our hearts, we start to reach this place of self knowledge. So he's saying that if we can maintain and sustain high, elevated emotional states, that means if you're in he says also that gratitude is the best state to live in, So if you can stay in the elevated state of emotional, gratitude within you, he's saying this is something independent of what's going on outside, right? Because if you read biographies of great people, I haven't read it, but Viktor Frankl has written a book of his experience. What was it called? I can't recall the name of his very famous book. Something. It was through the Nazi experience, right? And how he still finds gratitude and he still finds a positive way of looking at the world. And this is what you'll see in great people's lives, that they will find a way to view their world as a place of growth, as a place of challenges that teach us, that help us grow. And that is a completely different model of looking at life as a place of um, terrible experiences that keep afflicting us. You see, the vocabulary itself is so different. One uplifts us and invigorates us, and the other drains us. So we can, yes, Viktor Frankl's book, yes, Viktor Frankl's book, the the meaning of man or something like this. I can't recall the name. If someone can Google it. So, so what we're seeing here is that we create this independent connection
So
to
now
ourselves. Sorry,
it's called In Search of Meaning.
in man searching for meaning, right? Yeah, am I correct? Man
In
searching.
Search of Meaning.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing that, Glam Uncle. Really appreciate it. Um, I love this kind of participation. Thank you so much. And I learned from you all. Thank you. So grateful. So, in all of this, we start to see that great people will be doing what they need to do in independent of the outer circumstances. And this is what we had discussed in Surah Fatiha when we were talking about the concept of samad, a samadhi life. A samadhi life is when you adopt this character of independence, of being needy of someone or something, right? And when we connect ourselves to God, we are cutting ourselves off of being dependent on outer circumstances, but there's a life that begins from within. There's an independent life within, which is a direct connection to the divine. And here he says that when we start doing that, when we stay in these higher inner states, we start to develop an intuition which starts to give us self knowledge. Um, and so he says that practicing and sustaining elevated emotions include gratitude, appreciation, love, joy, compassion, thankfulness, inspiration, freedom, kindness, selflessness, love, and compassion. Now, the benefits of that coherent beat are felt throughout the systems of the body. So, we know that whatever stress or lack of stress we experience in our thoughts will start to affect the hormones in our body, and those hormones are responsible for how all the other organs of the body will function. And so a person who is able to find gratitude, their body is not going to be in a state of dis-ease. Their body is going to be at ease. Their body is not going to be constricted with stress. They're going to be relaxed and expansive. And so there are all these myriad of benefits of working on the heart. Now, the interesting next topic that Dr. Joe Dispenza has, which is got this heading called the heart bridge. And this is something really interesting. He says that heart is the intersection of our lower three energy centers associated with our earthly body. So now he's talking about energy centers or the chakras through the yogic system of our body, right? And we know that we talk about the seven chakras or the energy centers. And I have right at the initial part when we started our series in talks, I had explained how the seven chakras and the seven nafs in the Islamic literature are connected. And these are the different realities of um, our existence. So he's saying that there are seven chakras. Now three are below and three are above, and the center one is the heart. So heart is the bridge between the lower three chakras and the upper three chakras. And he goes on to explain that the lower three chakras are the earthly body chakras, and the three top three chakras are connected to the divine self, the higher self. And so we can see that the heart is somewhat a, a bridge or a portal between the lower and the higher. The manifested world or the lower world or the seen world is the earthly existence. The higher three chakras represent the unmanifested, the unseen, the higher realities, the formless realities of existence. And heart becomes that portal between the seen world and the unseen world, right? And the typical work that we hear in the Arabic literature for a portal or an intermediary world between the two realities is barzakh, is the intermediary reality. Heart is that place of transitioning between the seen world into the unseen world, and it serves as our connection to the unified field and represents the union of duality or polarity. It is where separation, division, and polarized energy merges to become one, where opposites unify as the yin and the yang, good and bad, positive and negative, male and female, past and future can come into unity. The wholeness you feel when you are in a heart centered state, right? We were talking about this heart centered state. What is this heart centered state? We said it's the state in which we're choosing gratitude, selflessness, compassion, divine qualities and characteristics, and we are choosing to do the samadhi connection, samadhi way of doing life. The Allah who's samad, Allah is independent of anything, and we choose to become samad. We choose to do a samadhi life when we say, I only depend on Allah. And that makes me independent of everybody else in this reality. This I have explained earlier, how we cut off from the chains of cause and effect. Remember, if I have a degree, only then I can get a good job. If I am healthy, only then I can have a child. If I am young, only then I can conceive. These things don't work in the Quran. So we see that Hazrat Zakaria is praying for a child when he is really, really old, and Allah gives him his dua. He's given a child at the old age. That is where we're seeing a disconnect from the outer circumstances and outer realities, and having a vertical connection with the divine, where what you experience now in your life has got nothing to do with your circumstances. So you rise above your circumstances. You are not controlled by your circumstances. You are not limited by your circumstances, but that through this inner connection of divine vertical connection, you can disconnect from a sort of cause and effect that holds you down and holds you back. And when you are in a heart centered state, the wholeness you feel consumes any feelings that you may have of want and lack, right? You kind of enter a place of feeling full and complete and connected. So many times we experience this amazing feeling when we pray, and we say, oh, my namaz went really well. Like, I felt really connected and I felt so fulfilled. But then it goes away. And then we don't feel it for many, many namazes that we pray. And we feel like, I'm not enjoying my namaz. I don't feel connected. So what is this connectedness? What are you feeling when you're saying, oh, I felt connected or disconnected? It is this feeling of feeling whole. It is a feeling which fills your heart, which has got nothing to do with physical possessions or physical fun activities, or any kind of outer physical thing which fills you and makes you feel better. There's a completely different taste to this feeling of wholeness and lack, no lack. Okay. So from this creative state of wholeness and oneness, magic begins to happen in your life, because you're no longer creating from duality or separation. You're no longer waiting for something outside of you to provide relief from the internal feelings of lack, emptiness, or separation. Instead, you are becoming more familiar with your new you. You're familiar with your new ideal self and creating new experiences of yourself. Remember, I said that you can be hurt, but how do you wish to experience it is something that will energize your life experience. If you keep activating your heart center properly enough times during this creative process each day, in time you will feel more like your future has already happened. How can you ever want or feel lack if you feel whole? If you're coming from a place of Alhamdulillah likulli hal. This is the states of the awliya Allah who don't get perturbed by what happens outside. They find good, they find husnizan billah, having a good opinion of God, and in everything there is good. In everything that's happening is working towards good and guidance and wellness and wholeness. If the first three centers reflect our animal nature, if the first three chakras or the lower three chakras in our energy body reflect our animal nature and are based on polarity, opposites, competition, need, and lack, the fourth center begins our journey to our divine nature. It is from within this heart center that we change our mind and energy from living in selfish states to living in selfless states. And then we feel less affected by separation or duality and more prone to make choices for the greatest good of everyone. Okay. Now, greatest good of everyone. And remember, wholeness is a state or a feeling. Completeness is a state or a feeling which will take us towards a personality which connects us to everyone, which connects us to to everyone in a way where we feel one with the world. We feel like your pain is my pain. That is where we kind of become selfless, right? Because you and me are now one. So these are some results of how we start to feel when we're feeling connected and grounded through our heart. All of us have felt the consciousness of the heart center at one time or another in our lives. This energy is related to being fulfilled and at peace with yourself and your surroundings. When you embrace the feelings related to the heart, feelings that lead us to give, nurture, serve, care, help, forgive, love, trust, and so on, we can't help but feel filled up, whole, and complete. And I believe he says this to be our innate nature as human beings. So now we're seeing that, once we start to feel grounded, automatically we start to feel these happy feelings, these good feelings, these grounded feelings, which are making us altruistic. They're making us giving, they're making us uh, more forgiving, more trusting, more loving, having all these good opinions. And what would we call that state of the heart? We would call that inner state would that we're feeling an expansion. When we're unable to forgive someone, we feel constricted and tight, like there's an inability in us to 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 do those things. And then we realize that we can do them by feelings of expansion in our heart, and that we can call the expansion of the heart or groundedness. Okay, so I'm going to now switch from Dr. Joe Dispenza's book to Gary Zukav's book, The Mind of the Soul, Responsible Choice. It's a book by Gary Zukov and Linda Francis. They've done this book together. Just gonna fix my video. Okay, now why am I switching here is because we started our discussion with Dr. Joe Dispenza with the idea of intention. He said that brain coherence is an intention and heart coherence are these higher elevated states of emotions. Now, I stumbled upon something very, very amazing in this book by Gary Zukov. And he's talking about, in chapter 5, he talks about in-tention. Now, the way he's written in-tention over here. I don't know if I can show you guys. If you can see that he's written in-tention with the hyphen here, in-tention. Okay. And this is what I want to share, because I think this can be so life-changing in the way we perceive what intention is. He's talking about intention because, we want to discuss these two states of the heart, these two states which are important for us to be the co-creators of our life, to find the clarity, to reach our purpose, to find our highest potential. So it's really important that we look at the intention, and I really liked his take on this. He says that intention is the use of your will. Intention is the difference between having a vision and bringing it into the world, right? He says that everybody tries and dreams and daydreams about things, but with the things that materialize because you have an intention and you have a conscious desire to act on it and bring it into reality. Um, it was also his book, Seat of the Soul, that we were reading last time. And a similar concept that he says over here is that a ball on a billiard table will keep moving in a certain direction until there's an opposite force, until there's a different force that acts on that motion to change the trajectory of the direction of that ball, right? So he's saying that until a force is encountered, that motion doesn't change. The trajectories of our life doesn't change. He says that the only force that can alter the trajectory of your life is your will to change it. But some individuals do not use that force. They remain angry, jealous, or vengeful throughout their lives, and they die with the same psychological and emotional characteristics as they had as children. They react repeatedly in the same way and create the same consequences. Nothing fundamental changes between the time they are born and the time they leave the world, no matter how much they might appear to have accomplished. But on the other hand, he says that there are people who will be insightful, and they will be very uh, careful about the fact that they want to change. And so they see dramatic changes in their life. For example, if there was a young killer who was sentenced to life without parole, he may become an elder to his prison community, teaching young inmates to appreciate the pain of others and respect the earth. Now, somebody who's in the jail already caught with this, massive punishment can also have an insightful transformation shift within. This is what we're saying, that the shift is an independent shift within. It does not depend on what your outsides are. And I really like Sheikh Fadullah is saying, his saying where he says outer contraction leads to inner expansion. So we're seeing that, in times of pain and contraction and trouble, people who are insightful will use it to create an expansion within, to bring compassion, selflessness, trust, and love, and all these feelings within themselves. Powerful lives like these surround you, but whether you see them depends on the choices you make. Choices that do not challenge your fears bring individuals into your life who do not challenge your fears. So, if you are going to be doing your life in which you make those kind of choices where your fears never get challenged. Remember, we were talking about last time difficult questions in life. You know, if you are not going to ask those difficult questions that are within you, that are nagging at you, and you're sitting on them, but you don't want to feel uncomfortable, you don't want to get out of your comfort zone, you don't want to challenge the status quo, you just want to be in that herd mentality that we were talking about, like the sheep. Quran says, you're like the sheep, an'am, bal, it's like you're even worse than the sheep because we're humans, right? We have that faculty of waking up and leaving the herd and doing the extraordinary. But if we choose it, Allah is saying you're even worse than those sheep. An'am says you are worse even than that. So now, and we know by now, we've established that Allah doesn't have any need to curse us or make us feel bad. What Allah is actually trying to do is to wake us up for our own good. He's saying, don't keep sleeping. You're going to waste this opportunity. So choices that do not challenge your fears brings only those individuals within our vibe and within our circle who are also going to be the same. They're also very complacent, and we are also complacent, and that's how we vibe with our tribe. Our tribe will be the same as our vibe. Then he says that choices that stretch you bring individuals who are stretching themselves into your life as well. Choice is the power to make a difference in your life. It is also the power to continue your life unchanged. It is the application of your will to your experience. So he's written this very highlighted over here, that choice is the application. Hope it's like clear. Come on. Choice is the application of your will to your experience. So you can choose to stay the same or you can choose to change. You apply your will moment to moment. If you're not aware of this process, your experiences will not change. So we think that my life is not changing, things are not happening for me, I'm not getting anywhere, I'm stuck. But the fact is that that is a choice you are making, because we have to be very aware in moment to moment in applying this force, applying this change and of choice in our life. And in the Quran also Allah says that Allah will not change the states of those people who don't change their own selves from within. La taghayyur. The change will not come if you don't change what is within you. You don't change that, your circumstances will not change. Your outer reality is not going to change. You create your experiences with your will, moment by moment, from your birth to your death. Okay. Now he says that you the spiritual path is a journey into your creative power and responsibility. So if we're making a choice, then we're taking a responsibility and we're saying, I have a choice to create, right? If you have the choice to create a change, a ripple, an effect in your life, you have a creative power, and you're using that creative power with a sense of responsibility. Like, I am responsible for changing what I need to change. Because if we do not acknowledge that, then neither do we acknowledge that we have anything. I don't have any power, I'm so helpless, which is the mindset of those who feel like a victim of their circumstances. So they don't acknowledge the power they hold. They don't acknowledge that they have a power to create. So they let go of their creative power, and they don't take upon themselves the responsibility and say, yeah, you know what, I am responsible. And I always say that with great responsibility comes great power. So when you take the responsibility, automatically you will feel the power through which you can change your life. Nothing, he says, is accomplished without intention. Now, he says that no work will get done unless you you decide, you make that choice of intention. Now is the interesting part, which I wanted to share with you about intention, which was so different and so refreshing, and was really like it created a paradigm shift for me. He says that the action is not fundamental. The unseen reason behind the action is fundamental. That is the intention. So the action is not important, but the unseen reason behind the action is important, which is what the Holy Prophet ﷺ taught us through the hadith, Innamal amalu bin niyat. Your actions depend on your intentions, as in the action is not the fundamental thing. It is dependent on something much deeper, something more important, which is the unseen reason behind that action, which we call the intention. Now he says that your consequences to any action are not dependent on your action, but the consequences depend upon that unseen reason. They depend on that intention. So now he's dividing a particular action into three portions. Okay, there is an action, there is a reason behind that action, and then there's a consequence to that action. And he goes on to give an example of, um, for example, you're going on a boat ride and you decide not to let somebody get on the boat for whatever, in whatever way, right? You don't let them enter the boat. You're going on a boat ride and you don't let them enter. That was your action, to not let them enter the boat. The unseen reason for not letting them enter the boat will be your intention. And what did you achieve out of that intention? Your intention was, sorry. Let me go back. So the reason for not letting the person get on the boat will be your intention. And then he's using this very new word, an out-tention. Okay, out-tention is the outcome of what you have decided. So the physical action is not the intention. His intention was not simply to not let somebody get on the boat. That was the outcome of the intention. Okay. So there's a reason for not letting somebody get on the boat, which will be your intention. The outcome of it was that somebody did not get on the boat. That's the out-tention. Okay. Now there's a consequence to that out-tention. There's a consequence to that outcome, which is that now he discusses the intention. Okay, so he's giving two intentions. He's saying you can you can out-tend. Okay, you're deciding an outcome. You can out-tend to keep someone off a boat because you know he cannot swim. Okay, so your intention for not letting them get on the boat was to save their life, or your intention for not letting them get on the boat was because you wanted their seat. So there are two different intentions one can hold for the same action. One was the intention of saving their life, the other was the intention of taking their seat. So there was an intention, which was the reason behind the action. There was an out-tention, which was the outcome of your intention. And after the outcome of your intention, there will be a consequence of that action. And what is the consequence? That either you will, you will sit on that seat that that person left because you wanted that seat, or you won't take that seat and you may offer that seat to somebody else or anything like that, depending on your intention. So your consequences depend on your intention, not your action. Okay, so there are three aspects to an action that we saw today, or a scenario that we saw today. That there is an intention, there's an out-tension, and there's a consequence to that. And the consequence and the intention are connected. The out-tension, the outcome, the physical materialization of that intention is something that we can say is the middle portion of that scenario. So what is he saying over here? He's saying what most people call intentions are actually out-tensions. An out-tension is the application of your will to accomplish a physical goal. An intention is the quality of consciousness you bring to an action. So, if I say, okay, let's read this. When you choose an out-tension, you choose a physical goal, right? So, an out-tension was don't let this person get a seat on the boat. That is the outcome. That is the out-tension. But that was not your intention. When you choose an intention, you choose a consciousness. An intention is the quality of consciousness you bring to an action. An out-tension creates physical causes and physical effects. For example, You wanted to graduate with honors from university, getting a promotion, winning at tennis. These are all out tensions. The same out tension can have different intentions. You can out tend to keep someone off the boat, which is the example I explained to you. Now, how is this affecting us? The intentions of your soul are harmony, cooperation, sharing, and reverence for life. And if we look at these qualities, harmony, cooperation, sharing, and reverence for life, these are all godly intentions. These are divine intentions. These are qualities of a higher uh, character, higher moral ground. These are the qualities that connect us with the Uswatul Hasana, with the Asmaul Husna, the names of God, the character of the Holy Prophet. These are the higher positions that we want to achieve through the purification of our soul, the journey of the soul. The entire journey of perfecting the soul is about perfecting the character. And if our intentions are godly intentions, if our intentions are to connect with the divine, and we cut off from the outer circumstances by setting an intention of the heart to be godly, then the outcomes, they become a means for us to reach God. So this is where a lot of times I would find it difficult to explain to my students how worldly actions in the world become a means to touch the divine, to reach the divine. And this is where the key is. Whether you want to graduate in fashion designing, for example, or you want a promotion at work, or you um, want to travel the world, all of these are out tensions. You know, you can't, if you say my intention is to travel the world, that is according to Gary Zukov's explanation, that is a flawed sentence because it's a physical thing. So we don't want to call it an intention. It's an out tension. It's an outcome. It's a physical thing that you're doing. But to say that I would like to travel the world with a godly intention, I in everything that I do, my intention is always God. My intention is always to become a better person. My intention is to always become and hone godly qualities within me, because we have mentioned this earlier on, that to be godly is the way to meet God, because we meet God when we become like God. And so to be Him is to see Him. If you be like God, then you can see God, you can connect with God, you can have liqa Allah through that way. So, what we're seeing here is that the worldly reality, the manifested reality, is giving us an opportunity to do the out tensions on a physical realm, but the consequence of that action will be determined by intentions. If I go into traveling the world with the intention of honing godliness within me, then the consequence of traveling the world will be that inshallah I will become a godly person. So there was an godly intention, then there was an outcome of that intention, which was a physical action. And the consequence of that physical action is that it changed me from within into a different person. And hence, we combine this duality of the physical world and this journey to God, which is an unseen reality, which is a formless journey, which is a journey into higher realities, which should not be dictated by the physical world, right? Technically, because it's a very untangible journey. It's a journey within me. It's a journey of my heart. So when we combine this understanding that what you intend has to be this high, lofty goal of godliness, in every outcome that you perform as an action in the physical reality, you can reach the consequence of finding godliness within you. And in this way, we said that we can activate these higher elevated emotions in the heart that can make us more compassionate, more giving, more trusting, more loving. And as a result of that, our hearts expand. And in that sense, the heart becomes that portal to the higher divine realities within us. So there were these lower realities, which are earthly realities, which are filled with fear and cause and effect and dependence on circumstances. And then we come to the heart where we can choose to make a choice. We can choose to challenge those things that create fear in our life, ask difficult questions, work on the emotional level, become conscious of our choices, and start to live a conscious life in every moment and live an intentional life where in every moment we are aware of our intentions. And through this awareness and consciousness that comes into our intentions, we can change the course of our life, because Gary Zukov in this chapter says that the universal law of attraction dictates, the universal law of attraction uh, brings um, brings like intentions, not like actions together. What he's saying is that the universal law of attraction brings the like intentions together. That is what it will manifest into your reality. When you intend to benefit yourself, you will encounter other people in your life who only intend to benefit themselves. But if you are intending to be a giving, more helpful person to the world, you will also attract a tribe of people who are also giving and, helpful people. So, in that way, the physical and the non physical, the manifest and the non manifest come together to weave for us a reality that we can be co creators of with a conscious choice in every present moment by setting an intention, and which is what Dr. Joe Dispenza said was a coherent brain. And plus, this will lead to a coherent, high elevated states of emotion of the heart, which we said was gratitude and compassion. And together with these two things, heart then, becomes a means of taking us to a new reality of magic, of creating a new life for ourselves, where we can be the co creators of our life. And I also want to reiterate what I just said, that the heart is the bridge between the two um, realities of life, the seen and the unseen, the earthly and the heavenly. And barzakh is a word which we can use for this, because Ibn Arabi has used this word barzakh with the throne, which is the kursi, and Ibn Arabi has explained it in this way only. So when we, in general jargon, religious talks and lectures, when we hear the word barzakh, and we hear that barzakh is that intermediary world, we are in this dunya, then we'll go to barzakh, which is the grave, and then after the barzakh we will enter the day of judgment, and from day of judgment we will go into hell and heaven. So we have this linear understanding of how reality is going to work. And scholars say that, well, that may be true, but for the mystic, that reality is happening right now. We are already in that state where we can, use the heart as a portal to experience the higher realities of our um, existence. So I will close the session here today, and let us put our hands up for dua. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Oh Allah, oh Allah, we come to you with our flaws and our inadequacies, our confusions, O Allah, we come to you with our utter ignorance. We are like parrots who speak words. They're big words, they're heavy words, but we don't understand them. We don't know how to really practice them. We don't know how and what it means to truly absorb them into our soul and in our actions and in our intentions and in our out-tensions and in our consequences. Ya Allah. Ya Allah, only you can guide us. But we come here with the intention of receiving this guidance. And oh Allah, with only your permission can you open our hearts and the doors to our hearts and the windows to our souls so we can become capable and worthy of receiving this knowledge and become capable of moving forward in this journey. Oh Allah, we take we take five steps and then we come back, we regress 10 steps. Oh Allah, this is the sad state, this is the humble state of us. We are weak and broken and we really are dependent on you entirely. Oh Allah, iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Oh Allah, we come to you as your lowly servants. Only from you do we ask and only do you we worship. Oh Allah, so help us in this journey, moment to moment. Bring us into a state of consciousness and intentional living, oh Allah, so that we can also be one of those friends of yours who can reap the fruits of this existence and finally experience the gift of Laqala that you truly promise in the Quran. Ameen Ya Rabbal Alameen.